Well, here's what happens. I have a long background in passive solar. The challenge with passive solar is it looks really cool. It is true that the energy coming into the building is nearly free. It provides us very little control unless you're extremely good at understanding mass. So if I have a building and I say, I don't mind it going from 50 degrees to 90 degrees, you're like, go ahead, go passive. If people are saying, I want to be somewhere between 71F and 75F, then passive doesn't work as easily. So you've got to make sure you appreciate the fact that variations in climate as well as times of year give you a differentiation in the angle of the sun. So because you guys have the sun out of the north, you realize that regardless of north or south in terms of hemispheres, we appreciate the fact that if the sun's coming in through a window, we can be very happy until it's gotten to be too much. And now my challenge is, how do I get rid of that excess heat? I'm a big fan of the fact that I want a very well insulated building, and that's because I can now control the enclosure. Whatever passive solar does come in, I can retain that and then use that as it's intended. The book I studied when I was in college was the Passive Solar book by Ed Mazria, published in 1981. So the strategies there are sound, but still remember, airtight, watertight, and thermally efficient. Then I need smaller amounts of energy, whether it's free from the sun or from the electric grid. But the idea is to build that enclosure really well done. And then, as you said, the ventilation proponent is critical.
Yep. So we're talking about optimizing solar gain, not maximizing solar gain.
That's correct. If you maximize the solar gain, you'll run the risk of having an overheated building. You guys have beautiful sun there, and you will overheat buildings. And so you have to be careful. Now, you can pick glass that has a very high or very low solar heat gain coefficient to then block a lot of that solar gain. Now, if you want the view, that's okay. Do it for the view. But if you want optimizing passive solar, you'd say, in this part of the building, I'm going to have a high solar heat gain coefficient. I'm going to put some, take some sun, use some maybe mass on the wall, a couple layers of gypsum. And then over here, where I don't have the flexibility of having mass, I'm going to put a low solar heat gain coefficient to block some of the solar gain, but I love the view. But that's the strategy here, is you want to pick where you want it and how you manage it, because too much solar gain is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We designed buildings that were passive solar, and you're like, holy crap, it's hot in here, you know.
We actually had a code change a couple of years ago due to houses overheating, and no one's really realized why that's happening yet. But we tend to invite a lot of solar gain into our houses and aren't necessarily designing them to optimize that. It's just
and that's really poor shading, isn't it? And we're talking about overheating in summer.
Yeah.
But are you talking about overheating even in the cooler months, Mark?
No, I'm in swing seasons. So imagine this. So
Yeah.
if you look at optimizing shading, it's a critical function, right? Shading is everything in summer, but I'm talking about swing seasons, right? As soon as the sun angle gets up as steep as it does, you don't worry as much about that gain because you've got at least enough overhang to do full shading of the glass. It's the spring and the fall seasons where I don't really need heating, but I've got a solar gain because my incidence of solar on the building is low. So in the sky, the lowest level, of course, is in the winter. So that's where the sun angle is at its lowest. So then I don't mind the solar gain, and I've got a near incident level of solar gain on glass. I'm getting lots of gain. As that starts to pick up and I get my swing seasons, that's the overheating cycle most often. So that's what we worry more about. Yeah.